Hi, mamas. I am so excited to introduce you to my friend Lorraine. Lorraine is a social media master. And beside everything we've been talking about, she talked a little bit about social media. So stay tuned because we have some great tips to share with you. And it's preparing, and you are live. We are live. Good morning, Lorraine. How are you doing today?
Fine, I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Yes, I am so excited to have you here because you are the social media master. You have a group, you have dedicated your business to that, and I am so grateful to have you today. And I cannot wait for you to tell us a little bit more about you, your mom side, but also your business side.
Okay, I think I thought about this a lot and where I'd like to start off. And I was like thinking about when I started my business, and I was in the throes of four teenage kids. So if any of you all have teenagers, you know what it's like to try to run a business and raise teenagers. And so interestingly enough, I had to do everything between carpooling, dropping this kid off here, going to, school activities and everything. But I think the key to, like, raising kids while you're doing business and being an entrepreneur is that you really have to be very structured. And I mean, I know a lot of people aren't that way at all, and that's the whole reason why they wanted to be in business for themselves. But if you don't set a time, and I know that there's things that get in the way, like a kid calling you and saying that they forgot their lunch or forgot, their instrument or whatever they forgot. But that is, like, I just wanted to give that little tip, because I think if you have something planned, do it, because you never know what's going to happen later on in the day. How I got started with my business was by accident. Actually, I was a business coach, and my business coaching career and business was doing really well. And I discovered social media, grew that business, and I actually liked it better. And I'm like thinking, okay, well, I'm just going to go against all the grain, and I'm just going to, rebrand. And I did. I went from Footpath Business Coaching to Biz Gone Social. And that's how you have me here today as a social media person.
That's awesome. And I guess what you say about kids, every age has its own at their own challenges, and it makes it very interesting when you're a mom and when you're doing a business to see the evolution, how you create that world around you, but also for your kids. How do you feel about, being an entrepreneur, the image you give to your kids while being an entrepreneur? Have you thought of that?
I'm sorry, what?
Have you thought of what you could teach your kids while being an entrepreneur and a mom at the same time? Because it's completely different when you have a corporate job and are a mom, and when you're an entrepreneur and are a mom.
Yeah, that's a great question, and a lot of good stuff with it, because remember, what your kids see, you're modeling. So for instance, if there's a time where you're like, if you're if you're working and your kids see you working, and you say to them, give me 10 more minutes, and I will give you attention, and that you have to stay with that. In other words, it's like you do what you have to do, get it done, but then give them the full attention. If they see that you care about them, and you also it's going to just perpetuate on, because they're going to see how you care about them, you care about your clients, you care about your work and your work ethic. That's the one thing that, it can't be, you can't say, do what I do, and then you don't have a good work ethic. Like today, I'm just going to sit around all day and eat cherry bonbons or something. It's more like they see what you're doing and they model it. I mean, the biggest surprise for me was when 2 years ago, I think it was about 2017, I wrote a book, and I didn't even know my kids were even paying attention to that. And the next thing I know, that my daughter now is 30, 33, and she basically is like, she was sharing my book with everybody. My mom wrote a book, and this is really cool. So the thing that I want to say is they are watching you even when you think they're not. Even as a little child, they are actually watching you. And you'll see, I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but I have a friend who works at her desk a lot, and she has a little, I guess, a 5-year-old, and he goes and he like is typing on his fake, laptop, and he has a little fake phone and he's making phone calls. So they want to emulate you. They want to be like you. So it's a great time to just really role model what it is to be consistent and also be present in the moment at the same time.
I found a limit to that, and maybe you'll be able to help me because you are the social media expert here. But I don't want my son to see me as the mom behind our screen all the time. But with social media, the thing is, and because the business is taking off like so fast, I need to be more present and I need to engage way more in social media if I want to keep growing and if I want to keep that momentum. But at the same time, I don't want him to think that I'm just, a mom behind a laptop or a phone, and I have hard time to adjust that and to balance that. Do you have any tips for that?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that when it's time to be present in the moment, that you're not multitasking at the same time. So, I watched my grandson for a while, and I needed to put down the work. You really do have to put down the work, because if they think at any time that your work is more important than them, or that your social media is more important than them, you kind of lose a little bit of your momhood. And I don't mean to be so harsh, because I know a lot of us are working so hard at our business and we want to be successful. But I do, a lot of people say you can't have it all, but I think you can. I think you can be a great mom and a great entrepreneur at the same time, as long as that you are present in the moment. I think that's the biggest thing. Is a lot of people, when they go to the future, well, when I'm, making more money, I'll give my kid more time, or when I'm doing this, I'll give my family more time. But you'll never get the time now back. So live in this
Mhm.
moment and have those moments. I love the fact that, when I'm on a Zoom call with you, that you sometimes bring your little one to the call. One time, I think you were even dressed alike. I thought that was the most cutest thing, but you were also giving your child what they needed, that hold time. And that's really important. That touch is really important. So just make sure you're always, you know, spending time with your kids, because
Mhm.
that's really your legacy. That will move forward, and and they'll be responsible adults, because that's your job. You're the mama birdie, and your job is you want to teach your little baby birdies to fly, and that's what you really want to do.
Absolutely. I posted something on Instagram this morning. I did a little video, and one thing that I was recommending was to know the rhythm of your kids and know when they can handle the chaos by themselves, like playing by themselves, so that you can be with them but still doing your thing on the side. But I found a limit to that as well, because as soon as Oscar is seeing me with my laptop on my lap and a phone next to me, is like going crazy, and he absolutely want to touch every technology that he can see.
Yeah, they do. And I've had some bloops with that too, that one time my grandkid, like, he hung up on me. And it's like I was in the middle of a really important call. So it's like, yeah, that's difficult. But here's the thing with that is, like, there is a limit. The playtime thing is like really important. We had when I was growing up, it was safe. My mom was able to actually put me outside in the backyard and let me and she was outside too, but she would let me hang out in my playpen. And my kids, I had a playpen for them, and I let them crawl around a lot too, because you can't keep them in a bubble all day. But it always gave me such joy when my littlest one right now, who is 21, he would sit in the playpen and he would play for hours. I literally had to go and grab him when I had the other one, my oldest, who's now like 35, and he wanted to crawl out of the playpen all the time. And that was his total goal, was to get out of the playpen. And a lot of times they have those walkers, or those sit down chairs and stuff like that. You're right, there's only so much time that they're going to spend in that. So that's when they're in their quiet moment or in their play moment, that's when you have to do your work. I mean, that's, or, sometimes like my husband would, take care of the kids a lot and do story time with them at night. And I actually rarely did story time because I always worked at night. So, to get things going. And I actually had a job. I worked the night shift for a very long, long time. And so, when I had a job, I was like, I only had a certain amount of time in the day too. I feel like as being an entrepreneur, you have less time because you're doing everything. You're doing your marketing, you're doing your payroll, you're doing your social media, you're doing this, you're doing that. So the other great advice is it's kind of like do it or dump it, or delegate it, and I think that's what I learned how to do very well starting off, is that I knew that there were some things I just couldn't do. Like, for instance, I could create a website and I'm very good at creating websites. However, spending the time to do that, I could be doing something that I'm more passionate about and it's going to move me forward. So it was easier for me at one time to hire someone to do it, which I did. Now I did my own website because after 5 minutes a website gets done, you're like, you hate it. I don't know if you noticed that. It's like, I just did this website, now I don't like it anymore. So it's like I'm constantly changing my website. It's overdue actually for a change now.
Yeah, and I think it's good for SEO anyway. I found as well that when I take a book, instead of having my computer, it's also giving another image to Oscar when I'm with him. So I try to multiply when he's kind of his quiet time. So I kind of listen to a podcast just on one here, but I'm present for him on the other side. At least for him, I look like I'm looking at him because he loves when I watch him. And it's so funny because he does something and then he look at me to see if I'm watching him, and I don't want to miss that. I don't want him to think that I'm not watching him. So I try to find some hacks like that. And for the book, it was a friend of mine who recommended that, so the kids can see you that reading book is also something that is part of your routine. So
Yeah.
there are limits but solutions.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, there's another, if you're going to bring this all into the mom and being an entrepreneur and everything, all my kids, with the exception of the oldest, so 3 out of my 4 kids, they're avid readers. And interestingly enough, I did a lot of reading and I read in front of them. So I was so surprised that on one vacation after my third child came back he was away at camp, like a band camp type of thing. And we went on vacation just to relax, and he was sitting on the chair. All the other kids were playing and he was actually just relaxing and reading. So it's a very good, if you're always so tense and just, I got to get this done, I got to get this done, I got to do this, I got to do this, they're going to see that and that's going to make them uncomfortable. So as a mom, you have to also provide that stability of that it's okay to relax and read. And they'll see that. My husband provided the story time. I provided the model of it's important to read, and all my kids are avid readers. The oldest one reads, but it's only if it's important for him that he needs to read. But all my other kids read books, and they love books, and I love books.
So important to have a support system that is efficient. My husband
Yeah.
supports me as well in taking over during the weekend so I can accomplish things while he's with Oscar. And I found that so helpful, very helpful. Um, I want to ask you, tell me more about what you are doing exactly for your client and how we can support you.
Sure. So I do a lot of managing. So managing of social media for some of my clients. So it involves content creation, great graphics. And these are for the people who like the words you're going to hear is that, I know I need to be on social media, but I don't want to do it. That is the key word, is like, because if you don't want to do it, I'll do it. And then the other, I provide services such as some programs, do-it-yourself programs. And so therefore, if you're one of those people who want to do it yourself, then I also provide that. Big bulk of my clientele, though, are I do a lot of consulting and a lot of speaking. So I get a lot of clients from speaking, but the service I provide is a very interesting service because I was a business coach. So when you get me, you get strategy. And I think that a lot of people think that they can do social media and just randomly do something, and it makes absolutely no sense. And they think they're going to get a client. I like to put strategy with that. And it's so important to know why you're doing it and what the outcome is going to be. Even if you don't get that outcome, you know, sometimes you think that you're going to get a certain outcome, and then like you look at the numbers later and you're so disappointed. You know, case in point, you know, you decide that it would be really great to do a Facebook Live. Facebook Live is awesome, and it actually gets your brand out there in a bigger way. However, when you first start Facebook Live, you're not going to have hundreds of people on Facebook Live. And it kind of could be disappointing. And at some time you kind of think is like, I feel like I'm talking to no one. But here's the really value in it is that it's not, yes, there's value in real time, okay? But guess what? It goes on your Facebook page and then people view it later. And it's so many more views than if you organically put a post up and just had a post. You're going to get more views because people are watching that video. And I think that a lot of people think that, you know, that if they put a post up, they're going to get a client, and it's not. And I like to the big part of my business is educating the client. So we go through a very big onboarding process where I tell them what's working, what's not working, what we can do better at. And I always start off with what's working, because I don't want to be like one of these negative Nellies that, oh, this is bad, you're never going to amount to anything. I want to present it in a way that, you know what, we're not doing good here, but that's okay because we can fix this. You know, and that's where I like to, you know, it's like, what can we do with your social media to make you stand out? You know, one of my, you know, biggest slogans is, you know, well, it's not a slogan, but I say shout it out a lot. And that was the title of my book. And it's like, that's what you want to do as a business owner. You want to just shout it out in your voice. And I say this for a reason, because your voice matters. Your voice is very important. And when I work with somebody, I don't care about my voice. I want to make sure that your voice, the person that I'm working with, is coming out in their social media. You know, a perfect example of that is that I have a client in Colorado who is a life coach. She's a high performance coach. And she had a series of unfortunate events that happened 2 years ago in December. Her dad had passed away. And basically she just kind of went off the grid a little bit. Because I knew her voice, I was able to continue her social media marketing while she was off the grid. And one of the biggest things she said to me when she came back on the grid was, thank you so much for keeping my business going while I was off the grid. And I think that's important. If you can, that's what I try to do, is I try to be you. You know, it's kind of like I try to, you know, if you're a life coach, I'm a life coach. If you're an architect, I'm an architect. If you're a plumber, I'm a plumber. Whatever your business is, that's who I am when I'm working for you. And I don't think you get that with just anybody. I don't think a lot of people can play that game. It's not a game, but it's like, it is. I get to be anybody I want to each day. I'm an architect. I'm a life coach. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a financial guy. I'm all those things. And I love it. I love being different people. So that's a uniqueness about me. It's just who I am.
What is your favorite social media platform?
Wow. So that's a tough question, because I spend a bulk of my time on Facebook. And if anybody on this channel has heard me speak before, you'll hear me say that. However, I get the bulk of my clients through LinkedIn, which is funny, but I absolutely love Instagram. And and I think, and that's my favorite platform now. If you asked me that 2 years ago, hands down, it would have been LinkedIn. But I get so much more traction, more views. I have fun doing it. The pictures are amazing. And just the way you can market on Instagram, which is so much different than marketing on Facebook and LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is very different. However, if you're B2B, you need to be on LinkedIn, because the average income on LinkedIn is $120,000. So you don't want to miss that. I mean, I hate to say this, it's, in a sense, I don't want to make it all about money, because it isn't. It's much more than that. For me, it's, I'm a serving person, and I like to serve my clients. However, with Instagram, it's just a whole nother animal. I don't feel like I'm always I'm getting and receiving at the same time and learning. I learned a very important tip a couple of weeks ago. I was having trouble getting an IGTV onto one of my clients' IGTV platform on Instagram, and it wasn't working. And then I gave up on it a little bit. I said, "Oh, you're just not meeting the criteria." And then all of a sudden, Instagram changed the criteria of IGTV. And because I saw that on Instagram, because they have something called Instagram Business, which everybody should be connected to, and they tell you about the changes that are going to happen. And the thing is if I can give one tip with Instagram, you need to be doing IGTV, because Instagram wants you to be Zuckerberg wants you to be doing IGTV. A lot of changes happening this month with IGTV. So keep follow Instagram Business, and you're going to see them all.
That's very good to know. And I've also learned that when the money is, you have to go, like if Facebook, if Zuckerberg is investing in IGTV, you should do IGTV, because you will be rewarding for the work you put here. So your message will be shown to way more people.
Yes. And remember, like on the feed of Instagram, it's under a minute. So you can't do a long video. However, if you do IGTV, you can post a preview, but the preview plays the whole video on the feed. So that's plus only place where you can have a clickable link in, other than using the @ to bring people to your profile in IGTV, in the description when you're setting it up, you need to put some kind of clickable link. And I tell this to people all the time. People need to be told what to do. So if they go to your website, for instance, and they don't know what to do, they're just going to leave and they'll probably never come back. But if you tell them what to do, such as download my free white paper, or join me on my social media platforms, or sign up for my newsletter, even though I never thought that was a really great way to get people on your newsletter list. You got to give them a little bit more. However, the bottom line is that people aren't going to do anything if you don't ask them to do it. So if you have a clickable link somewhere, you ask them to go to the profile and click on the link on the profile, it's a heck of a lot better than just putting an organic post out with just, this is about this, and leaving it at that. So always ask people to do something, because they want to be told. You're not being rude. People want to be told.
Absolutely agree. And it's funny because right now I'm revamping my whole social media strategy. Even with Facebook, I try to balance it out, because I do think that it's difficult to focus on everything at the same time. So for a long time, I was focusing on Facebook, and now I'm kind of switching on Instagram. And I know that I can work both, like, all together. So right now I'm really in the middle of balancing out and repurposing all the content that I create. And I guess what gave me that, push was TikTok. I wasn't on TikTok at all until 2 days ago. And it's very addictive. I like, so addictive. But what TikTok has pushed me to do, and it's very positive, it has pushed me to create way more videos and way more, valuable content. And I got the idea to repurpose all content by changing, of course, the format, but also I reshoot the video, but I'm saying the same thing. So it's not exactly the same content, but it's repurposing. So I'm trying really to balance it out. And I'm giving myself, I would say, 30 to 60 days to see how, it's growing, and if it's growing, and I will readjust after that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually saw you posting the whole thing about TikTok. I actually signed up. I signed up a while ago because there's a really great entrepreneur out there named Gary Vee, who's an influencer in my field. And he keeps on saying you need to be on TikTok. So I'm stubborn and I don't listen a lot, but so I did sign up. I haven't done anything with it yet. And here's the thing, you mentioned a very important word while you were just talking now, and it's called balance. And when I first started out on social media, I felt like, I tried to master it all. I tried to do everything. And I realized that I couldn't do everything well. I mean, yes, you can, when you post somewhere, you can cross-populate. But, something that you're putting on Facebook isn't necessarily supposed to go on Twitter. And something that you're doing on Instagram isn't necessarily supposed to go on Facebook. So you really have to really think about that. But with the balance, I'm a firm believer that you need to master one platform really well before you move on to the other. And if you feel comfortable, because again, if you don't have that balance and you're like you, for instance, you have traction right now on Facebook, you have traction maybe on Instagram, and now all of a sudden, oh, let's chase every bright and shiny object, TikTok. And I'm not saying I'm really, all the influencers were right now saying we need to be on TikTok. So yeah, I'm going to venture out into it, but I'm going to go kicking and screaming. Let me just tell you that. Just because I feel like that I am everywhere. I'm on YouTube. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. So I'm there. I'm on LinkedIn. I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn. But I think what the value of TikTok is these little bites of, video. And I saw some people doing dancing and stuff like that. I haven't really paid a lot of attention to it, but apparently it gets major traction. So I haven't seen the results yet, but I saw a case study on it the other day and I read it. And apparently, you put a TikTok up and people are doing that a lot, and you'll see it on their Facebook post. You'll see it says TikTok. And I noticed that that's even getting more views than if you upload a video to Facebook. So it's going to be interesting. And I will, I do a lot of education, so I will have to learn about it anyway. So I will be doing it because I do a lot of teaching. So I will have to know it. It's kind of how I fell into Instagram in the first place. One of my restaurants that I was working for wanted me to do Instagram. And I'm like, oh. So I felt like I had to be ahead of them in followers. So I literally, in 2 months, I grew my thing to about 2,000 people from July to whatever. I grew it. What's interesting is that my people that are following me aren't just anybody, but they are targeted followers. So these are my raving fans, or these are people that could be a potential client. And that's when I talk about strategy. You have to know what you're targeting. And if people don't know what they're targeting, they're really going to miss the target. So.
Absolutely. And you can see the difference right away. Now, I know that Instagram, it's kind of, I would say, complicated, even though I think everything is figureable, but complicated in the sense that you have so many things to think about, and hashtag strategies, and, the copy and the image, and you have to catch the attention of the person for the visual, but then the first line of your caption needs to tell them like, hey, I capture your attention, now you need to keep going. And then if you want to be just found by anybody, you have to put specific hashtag, your niche hashtag for sure. So it's a lot of things to think about, but I think it's possible. And I guess it's like everything. The beginning is very time consuming because you're trying to figure things out and you're, testing things to see what is working and what's not working. But then after a while, it becomes like a habit and it's way more easy to do it.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And you mentioned something really important, just another quick tip with hashtags. You can have up to 30 hashtags, for instance, on Instagram, but sometimes you don't really need to use all 30. And a lot of times people just like, they'll say something and then they'll put like 30 hashtags right after it. And I'm like, they don't even space it out. And I feel that your content then at that point gets lost, and you want people to read your content. So I've been successful with 12 hashtags, and I've been successful with 30 hashtags. So, and you should switch you shouldn't use the same hashtags all the time. So with Instagram, make sure, I like to say that I'm just kind of weaving that into what you said about Instagram, and how you're mastering it and you're learning in the beginning and it's becoming easier now. The same thing with Instagram. I keep all my hashtags and all my clients' hashtags in notes on my iPhone. So when I'm posting something for them, I easily just copy it and I just put it in. And I don't use the same hashtags because, like, if you're talking about, like, for instance, if you're a life coach and you're talking about productivity, Well, you're not talking about the same thing last week that if you talked about, for instance, energy. So you want to, make sure, and then you want to even out those hashtags. And what I mean by that is, this is important because I feel like it adds value to this call here,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm sure a lot of entrepreneurs are on the, in your little community are using Instagram, because who isn't using Instagram right now? The thing that you want to remember is that with these hashtags, all those hashtags don't have to be over 1 million people, and they shouldn't, because that is way too broad. So yeah, what I like to do is 3 hashtags over 1 million. Then I bring it down a little bit to about 50,000. Then I bring it down a little bit more to about 8,000, 10,000, and I mix them up. And I've seen a lot of success with that, compared to if I put 30 hashtags that all had that were 1 million people have used that hashtag.
Absolutely.
But
I
I hope
watched a
that's
video.
helpful. I wanted to bring some value to this call, because your calls are great and you always add value, and you have a lot of great guests that come on, and really appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you very much. I watched a video about hashtags, and I'm going to put the link on the group because it was a very valuable one. And the guy was explaining that, yes, you can put some like big hashtag, like over 1 million and everything, but not too much. And those hashtags are actually serving you only if everything goes well before with the little hashtags. So if your little hashtags get caught, then the medium hashtag as well, then you have the big one, just in case everything is going well, and so you can go viral.
Yeah. And another thing that works, and a lot of people forget about this, because remember, so I always tell people this: social media is social. So if you're just posting and you're just leaving it there and you're not doing anything and you're not interacting with the platform, and by the way, Instagram was made to interact with. So what I always tell my clients, especially if I'm just consulting, is I tell them, it's so important that before you post your Instagram post, beautiful picture, great content, people do read the content, awesome hashtags. That's what you want to do. However, just before you do that, maybe about 10 minutes before you post, you want to go on and you want to start liking and following other people. And here's the thing is, so then when you post, they're thinking all of a sudden you liked one of their posts, and they're going to look, and then they're actually going to read they don't scroll down to see your whole, Instagram. They're going to look at that post you just posted. And that also brings more people coming into that one post that you're making. And so, and the jury's out on that yet. I've been doing that a lot lately. I feel like I get more likes and followers during the time when I'm posting if I go on and like some people that could be my potential clients. So I usually take a profession, for instance. Like one day I decided, let's reach out to travel agents. The reason being is because it's a very hard time for them right now in this country. So if I can offer them any support, or however, whatever, just a little. So I started just liking a bunch of travel agents because they're a potential client. I have a travel agent that I work for, and we've been doing some fun things. So I figured, well, let's just see what comes out of that. And I got so much more posts out of it. More likes of my post. And it just, so there's so many tricks that you can do. I think you had, if I'm not mistaken, you had Samantha on a couple days ago talking about Instagram, or I saw that somewhere. I don't know exactly where it was, but Samantha grew her following to, over 10K using she was in a special program that's how actually I met her. And she just, if you emulate some of the people that are in your space and what they're doing, you can definitely grow your Instagram platform. And that's what you want to do. And just the strategy behind that, you don't want anybody. You want people that could be, a potential client of yours, or a strategic partner with you, or somebody that you can add value to and they can add value to. So you really want to be thinking about that. There's more than just, a lot of people think, oh, you guys just post videos or, pictures all day and it's fun. And it's absolutely fun. I enjoy that, but I enjoy more of, it's kind of like, I describe it as being a chess game, because you have to have a strategy when you're playing chess. And when they make their move, guess what happens? Your
Mm-hmm.
whole strategy will change according to what their move is. So,
Absolutely. I found like I was guilty of not looking at the result and not, analyzing what I was posting. And that cost me like a lot of time first, a lot of energy, and a lot of money not analyzing my result. So I'm very, very careful now to what I post, and I always, always, always look for the result after so I can adjust, as you said, my strategy.
yeah, there's a saying out there. I don't know if you ever heard it. If you always do what you always did, you'll always get what you always got. It's kind of funny. And
Absolutely.
that's the same thing with social media. Like, if you keep on putting a video out with a certain title or whatever, and it's not, nobody's watching it, you're going to get the same results over and over again. But if you tweak it a little bit, you know, it changes everything. And I even see that you mentioned earlier about subject lines. I've used really bad subject lines and I've used really good subject lines. And so I'm at the point in my email marketing where I know what I'm supposed to be using, but every once in a while I think I try to be cutesy and it's not good. So it's just not good.
Thank you so much, Lorraine, for your time. Tell me, how can I support you? What is your next step? Tell me how, we can be helpful.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, this is, I'm stepping out on a limb. I actually have a date set already. I'm going to try a podcast. It's something that I've always wanted to do. And I know that if I don't set a date, such as even when I was launching my book, if I didn't set the date, the final copy was on my desktop long before I set the date, that I won't do it. So basically June 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern time, I am going to be doing the Biz Gone Social podcast. And my goal in it is really to help entrepreneurs, business owners, mid-sized companies, people who really, really want to master social media, give some tips and hacks. And there's so many things that I'm doing already now to just add value to the people that I serve. And so I think this is just one more step in the whole process. And so that's how I'm really looking, I'd like to talk to somebody, not talk to nobody on a podcast. And basically I would love if you join me for that first date. So, that day, so I can have somebody to talk to, and then also share it, and share that this is a really cool podcast. It's the only way I'm going to get noticed out there and be able to serve more people is by having other people like and share my endeavor.
Mm-hmm. I am all about highlighting talents, and I will be happy to join you on the D-Date and also on, sharing massively. And as well, don't hesitate to post on the group. I'm super open to that. So post when you need support, when you need feedbacks, help, whatever promotion, post it on the group. And that would be great as well, because I think it's going to be very valuable for everyone on the group. So don't hesitate.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Charlotte, for having me.
You're
This has been
very
really
welcome.
fun.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel. If you think of someone who could benefit from it, share it. Share it massively, because you never know who you would help. Thank you so much for watching us, and I will see you very soon.